All right, we should be live.
Excellent. So, welcome everyone to this next edition of the Ubuntu Q&A. This week it's not going to be with Jono for two reasons. First of all, he's on holiday, and secondly, he stepped down as the Ubuntu Community Manager. So he'll be joining us in the future from the community side as non-canonical. So today it's going to be a bit different in the sense that we're going to have the whole community team. We're going to be continuing these Q&As, but we're going to do this as a team. I think the first thing that we should probably do is to introduce ourselves to those of you who don't know us, and I think we could just start like from right to left, and I'll go first, and then the other guys can introduce, and then you can ask away your questions. So I'm David Planella. I've been in the canonical community team for a while now. I started off as the Ubuntu translations coordinator, and I worked with community teams to ensure that Ubuntu is well translated in essentially any language. But after a while, I changed gears a bit, and I started working towards building the app development story. And I think I've been there for like a couple of years doing app development, and yeah, it's been fun. So if you've got any questions on app development, you can ask me or also the rest of the team who's been joining in building the app development story in the last few cycles. So yeah, that's essentially me. So Mike.
Hi, my name is Michael Hall. You may have seen me on the Ubuntu engineering live updates that we do. I joined Canonical 3 years ago to do web development and have since moved into the community team, where I've started out as the upstream liaison, working with Debian and GNOME to try and make sure that our relationships with those projects are good. From there, I moved into helping get the Ubuntu TV project out the door and open sourced, and this past couple of years have also been focused heavily on the phone and app development for the phone. Nick?
You guys' direction is relative. So, anyways, I'm Nicholas. I'm the other cohort on the team here. My primary focus since I joined the team a couple years ago has been mainly on quality. So if you've been working on the phone at all, that generally means autopilot. So you've probably seen quite a bit of autopilot stuff out of me. But on the desktop side, we do all sorts of good stuff there as well. Test case writing doesn't have to be automated. So that's been my primary focus.
Who's next?
Mr. Holbach.
All right then. My name is Daniel Holbach. I've been part of the Ubuntu community for what feels like ages now. In the beginning, I was the desktop team together with Seb Bachet. Then joined together with Jono, made up the community team. Was working with the Ubuntu developer community, and now like basically everyone else on the team, we're looking at the app ecosystem a lot, and this obviously, and yeah, we're looking forward to getting all your questions, so please keep them coming. Alan.
Hello, I'm Alan Pope. I've been in the Ubuntu community since about 2006, and I joined Canonical 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And I work on the apps team, but I work closely with the community team. And by apps team, I work on some of the core apps that are delivered on Ubuntu Phone. So that includes music, calendar, clock, RSS reader we call Shorts, the weather app, and so on. And the key thing to know about those applications is they're developed by our community. They're all open source, free software, developed by a team of people around the world, and I work with them to deliver those applications for Ubuntu Phone. And this is my cat.
I think that answers the first question on the channel as well. So yeah, the way that this works, if you guys have been participating in these Q&A sessions, is that essentially you can ask us almost everything related to Ubuntu, free software, essentially anything that we can answer. So if you're looking at the video stream, you'll see a chat window underneath, and then you can get into IRC and just tag your questions with question and column, and then essentially ask away. And we're looking at IRC, and we'll pick all of the questions and we'll answer what we can.
Yeah, we should probably mention, because
by the way, if you're not on that page right now, if you go to ubuntuonair.com, you'll get the embedded video and the IRC chat below it. Daniel, what were you going to say?
the same thing.
Okay.
All right.
And as David said, you can ask us any questions. Anything that you would have asked Jono previously, you can ask us now. Anything you wouldn't have asked Jono because it was Jono, you can ask us now.
Yeah.
That's right.
We should also mention that none of us can play the guitar, but we can probably do other tricks if you're nice to us.
All right, shall we take some questions then?
Yeah, there's a few of them already.
We already answered Jose. Yes, that is Popey's cat. D. McCoy asks, when will Ubuntu include a meme generator? So, years ago, actually, Rick Spencer was working on one in GTK. Do you guys remember that one?
It was written using Quickly, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That in QML for us.
Yeah, so I mean, if you want to get involved in Ubuntu app development, that'd be an excellent app to start writing. It would be a simple one as well. So, looking forward to seeing one in the App Store.
And anyone who's interested in app development on Ubuntu should go to developer.ubuntu.com. That's our primary portal. It's got all of our information on how to get started. It has all of our API documentation and everything that you need to start writing apps. Obviously, we've all been working on it for about the past year, so it's pretty in-depth now. Santiago K asks, how much are you working on making Ubuntu an operating system suitable for any machine? Well, that depends on your definition of any machine. Obviously, we're targeting desktops and servers and now phones and tablets also. We've targeted TVs in the past. That's, what we do every day. Beyond that, if you're talking about like Google Glass or watches or anything like that, I don't think there's anything going on right now on those. Really, our main focus right now has been on the phone and tablet story and getting that ready to go out the door. All right, MyChatX, will you include WineHQ by default in next Ubuntu releases? I haven't heard any discussion about that. If you're curious about it, we do have an Ubuntu Online Summit coming up next week. This is a combination of our Ubuntu Developer Summits that we've been doing online for a while now, as well as things like Ubuntu Open Week, Developer Week, and User Days. So there will be a lot of planning sessions, as well as a lot of presentations and how-tos. So if you go to summit.ubuntu.com, you'll see the dates for it. That's next week from Tuesday to Thursday, 1400 UTC to 1800 UTC. And we're getting sessions on the schedule now, so keep coming back and checking to see what sessions you might be interested in.
Another option would be to bring it up on the mailing list. So you might want to try ubuntu-devel-discuss at least ubuntu.com and just bring up the conversation there.
I'm slightly confused by what he means by WineHQ, but that's okay.
That's the website for upstream wine.
So it's probably a different upstream version of wine. I don't know, just speculating.
Right. Okay.
Scott Ritchie might know, should know.
Hazen is asking, how much of a threat do you see Tizen to Ubuntu Touch? Does anyone want to field that one?
Pokey's got a really big smile.
Well, that's one of those things that I don't know if we have a corporate position on it, but me personally, I think it's interesting. I think Tizen as a product is interesting in that it shows that Samsung, who are the biggest vendor of Android devices on the planet, have an exit strategy. If they don't want to use Android, they have an alternative, and that alternative is Tizen. I find it interesting that when Samsung announce devices, they make a big deal about all the Samsung apps that they deliver and the ecosystem that they build around Samsung. They don't tend to talk too much about the Android ecosystem and the Android community. It's all about the Samsung apps, and they own all those apps. They could potentially port those Samsung apps across to Tizen and remove Android out from underneath it. What I'd rather they did, of course, was to remove Android and put Ubuntu underneath it, and then ship a bunch of Samsung apps on top of that. That would be awesome.
Yes, that would.
Right now, I think it's an interesting one to watch, but there's not a huge. It doesn't seem to be a huge amount of vendor support or carrier support or OEM support for it. So.
I could see them getting carrier support, but I can't see Samsung talking their hardware competitors into using Tizen. I mean, you can't go to HTC and say, "Hey, use this operating system that really I'm in control of," and bet your phone product line on it. So I think if Tizen is a success, it will probably be limited to a success for Samsung.
Sure. Right. But I think overall it's well said that alternatives to the big players we would consider a good thing. I mean, that's what we are as well. So to the extent that people are willing to look at and consider alternatives, that's good for us.
Yeah, and we're watching closely what the other platforms are doing as well. So we'll be watching closely Tizen as well, especially after the announcement. I think it was today.
Yeah, we all do keep an eye on what's going on in the industry with Tizen, with Firefox OS, with Sailfish. All right. B. McCoy asks, how much WAM do I need to dedicate to something? Not sure what you're asking. Can you rephrase that one? Josh Strobel asks, how much progress has been made in moving to systemd as PID1? Daniel, have you seen any of the work that's been going on? I've been kind of out of that loop.
I don't know. I know that it boots, that you can play around with it. If you have a look on Google Plus and search for Martin Pitt, he's one of the people working on it, and they also put some extra work into rebooting the auto package tests test machines for every test. So that's going to give the booting is some additional exposure and testing. But if you have a look for his posts on Google Plus, you're going to find instructions there for how to test it and see how far things have gotten. There's still work to be done.
I know that on the phone side, there's work being done to kind of abstract the Upstart layer. For example, Upstart App Launch is being renamed to Ubuntu App Launch or Unity App Launch in anticipation of swapping out the underlying functionality from using Upstart to using systemd. But we still have a long way to go to make sure that we do this transition right. All right. Please Explain has a question. Will Ubuntu devs consider creating a Mubuntu spin-off with Mate as the default desktop? I ask this because, in my opinion, the rise of Linux Mint over Ubuntu to most popular distro directly correlates with the introduction of Unity. So leaving off for a moment the lack of statistics on distro popularity, there was a discussion thread brought up a few months ago, I think, about a Mate flavor of Ubuntu. I don't know if there was enough interest in that to actually get developers to start working on it or not, though.
Well, the cool thing is people in the community can start working on it. Anyone can take Ubuntu and create their own remix with whatever desktop they like, and that's been shown with Ubuntu, for example, that was a community-maintained remix of Ubuntu, and they applied to become an official flavor, and they met the criteria, and now it's an official flavor. It all gets built on the same infrastructure as all the other Ubuntu flavors. So there's nothing stopping anyone prototyping that kind of thing and putting it out there and seeing if there's interest in it.
Right. We had that with the Ubuntu GNOME also. That was
Yeah, exactly,
kicked off to get a vanilla upstream GNOME flavor.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
All right. Pensacola asks, one of the things I want to know is some of you are interested to join an open source conference in Romania.
It's a difficult one to answer. I mean,
for me and for Nick.
Yeah,
if you send us some more information about it, we'll see if there's anybody local who wants to go to it.
Yeah, if you let us know when it is, which topic you're interested in, I'm sure we can either find someone who's local for whom it wouldn't be too much trouble. Just let us know.
If you need an email address, you can use mine. It's mhall119@ubuntu.com. All right. Johan Finn, on Nexus 4 images, you can't change background and no button swipe. How come? You can change the background of the lock screen. You used to be able to change the background of the dash, but when the new dash landed, that functionality has been broken. And I think they're working right now on how to add that back in, because the scopes themselves are supposed to allow some additional customization. So I think they're still working out the specific details of how to implement that. As for button swipe, I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that.
I think it's bottom swipe.
Bottom swipe, that should still work by default, except for the HUD. The HUD doesn't come up from bottom swipe anymore. That's another thing where they're working out the design so they can start on the implementation.
Looks like somebody asked for a clarification of how to pronounce Ubuntu. So, what do you guys think? I would say it's Ubuntu.
Ubuntu.
Yeah, I guess I have a small opinion. I believe if you're going to pronounce it, with my American English, we'd call it Ubuntu. But I believe the original African word would be the Ubuntu. Something like that. Ubuntu.
Wow, really nice pronounced.
Cool.
In my opinion, as long as you say it with a smile and excitement, that's all I care about.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, there you go. Does your smile have to have teeth? Like teeth or no teeth? What do you think?
Teeth is better. Give it a
If you have teeth, show them.
Yeah. Wear an Ubuntu t-shirt as well.
All right. Benny Bolivar asks, how about the design roadmap of Ubuntu? Is there something new to mention, like the Suru icons? So yeah, there was some new design work that's been going on. I think some of that's going to be discussed in the Ubuntu Online Summit. Some of it has been put on the design blog on design.canonical.com. I don't think there's any major new designs that are coming out right now other than what's been published. Pensacola asks, when will Ubuntu phone or tablet be released? So none of us have exact release days. The last we've heard is that it's going to be sometime this fall. We're all have a huge list of work items to get done so that we can get the final images out to BQ and Meizu so that they can start loading it up on their hardware and testing it there. So that should be sometime this fall. I'm just not sure exactly when. What's next? Primex, what do you think about this topic? And he's linked to a GNU page about Ubuntu spyware. Without taking the time to read that, I'm assuming this was their response to privacy concerns with the online dash and the Amazon results. The only thing I'd say to that besides what we've been saying for the past couple of years on it, is that we are making changes in Unity 8 that will address a lot of those concerns and at the same time make the dash more usable. So if you're interested in that, you can try out either the phone or tablet images, or you can try Unity 8, the preview session that we have for the desktop, and see how scopes work there. But the long and short of it is that the default search is not going to be searching for everything online. All right, Mark Courtbass asks, can we expect an Ubuntu phone release announcement soon? Again, as far as I know, it's just sometime this fall. I don't know when. All right. Did some of you guys want to field some questions? All right, I'm just going through my highlight log to see.
Okay. So the next one is from Anarqued, I think. Is there any device that you can recommend to test Ubuntu Mobile? Yes. If you go to our wiki.ubuntu.com/touch, we list the devices that we support. So we build images every day for the Nexus devices, specifically the Nexus 4, the Nexus 7 2013, and the Nexus 10. And there are also some community ports to other devices that we don't directly support. They're community maintained. There were some other devices that we used to create images for. We used to create images for the Galaxy Nexus and the 2012 Nexus 7, but we no longer support those. So the short answer is Nexus 4, Nexus 7 2013, and Nexus 10.
Cool.
So, Poppy, which one would you recommend? I guess any of them.
On a phone or a
Only
tablet.
one of those is a phone. So the one that is a phone is the one I would recommend.
Yeah, I was going to say,
looking for a
I think I would agree. The phone. Barring that, the 2013 Nexus 7 is quite nice for a tablet. So.
Yeah, I have all three of them here, and I test them daily. But the one that I use the most is the Nexus 4. Definitely. Okay, what's the next question? Apple showed this is from Who Me. Apple showed an interesting feature with continuity at WWDC 2014. Do you plan something like that for various devices running Ubuntu? I don't know. I didn't see it.
Does anybody know what this is? Continuity, as far as I understand, is simply being able to work on something on your desktop and continue working on it on your tablet, etc. I believe that's correct. They also showed like some of the old work that we had done as well, with being able to answer a call from your desktop and that sort of thing. I'm not sure how much of that falls under this continuity banner, but
Yeah, that's what I've seen, and it's been compared to our convergence plans, but I'm not sure how closely aligned it is. It
Right.
seems more of a way to just transfer work from one device to another without actually using the same app, for example, on each.
right. So, to the extent that, I mean, as far as Ubuntu is concerned, your apps are going to be the same across all devices. So, if what's running on the calendar on my phone, I should be able to pick up and do whatever I've been doing on the desktop as well. It's the same app.
Yeah.
So that would be U1DB, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, U1DB can sync settings and state and whatnot across devices.
Yeah, I would love to see more apps using that. I think it's one of the best features we have.
Yeah, I've seen several apps that started off using the local storage, which is SQLite, start migrating to U1DB. So that's nice to see.
Excellent. All right.
There's a question that I've noticed that's not prefixed with question. I think I can just take it quickly. Will it be possible to install click packages onto the desktop version? Eventually, it will be, yes. I think it's not possible right now yet, but some of the core apps that we've got on the phone, such as music, calculator, calendar, and so on, are available on a PPA, which is essentially a small repository of packages where you can install them as Debian click packages. If you go to wiki.ubuntu.com/core with capital C and apps with capital A, or one word, you'll find all the information on how to install them.
So installing click packages on desktop is technically possible. The blocker right now is the fact that we don't review click packages in the store for security concerns, because on the phone images, everything is tightly sandboxed and malicious code can't do anything bad. But on the desktop, because X11 doesn't provide that kind of sandboxing, malicious code can see what you're typing into other apps and catch keyboard events or screenshots. And so we can't guarantee that those click packages are safe to use on the desktop. That's the biggest hurdle right now.
Okay.
All right, what's next?
Vincent asked a question without prefixing with question, but I spotted it. He says, I've seen Mark posting something about AppGrid, but it seems to be closed sourced. Is this the way Ubuntu will go further? Short answer, no. I think Mark saw it, thought it looked cool, thought it looked good as an alternative to Ubuntu Software Center, but without wishing to second guess, I think he didn't realize it was closed source. That's my guess.
Yeah, that was really more of a conversation starter, I think, than an actual technical proposal.
Yeah.
Right.
Kupo is asking, what is your relationship with Linux Mint or Clem, and how do you feel about their progress? We actually haven't had much communication with Clem. We've reached out to him some in the past when we had the whole licensing issue come up, but for the most part, he seems just happy to focus on Mint and not worry about anything else. So the relationship is good, as far as I know. I like watching Mint's progress and seeing them build up a nice distro on their own.
All right, so next one. How reliant will Unity 8 be on Ubuntu-specific packages? Specifically speaking of the work being done on the desktop. Joe Strobel is saying he's hoping the move to Unity 8 and Qt will allow other operating systems, such as Arch Linux, to be able to more easily support Unity on their in their repositories. Daniel, do you think you can answer that one? You're more the expert on packaging, essentially whether it will be Ubuntu-specific packages. I think it will be pretty specific to Ubuntu, to be honest, but perhaps you know more.
I don't have any specifics. I would basically just refer you to the Ubuntu desktop mailing list, because these folks, they help with integrating Unity 8 into the general Ubuntu desktop experience, so they know if there are patches that need to be used, or if specific versions of I don't know, GTK or anything else are necessary. So I would ask there. So that's ubuntu-desktop@ubuntu.com, or just ping me on IRC and we can find somebody to answer the question for you.
I think there's been some pain in the past.
Go ahead, Alan.
I think there's been some pain in the past that porting Unity to other desktops, partly because it was a fast-moving target, and I think that should be easier now, given the stability of Unity 7 and the fact that it's an LTS. You could port Unity 7 more easily, and I know Unity 7 already runs on Arch. For Unity 8, there is, yes, some integration points with things like the indicators and Mir and so on. But you know, I think if you're interested in that, I would start that conversation now. As Daniel said, on the desktop list, rather than wait until 14.10 comes out and then try and do the porting at that point. I think you're better off doing that.
Unity 8 should be easier just because it doesn't bring in all of Compiz, and porting Compiz to other distros was a significant hurdle. But if you don't want to use, for example, Mir, somebody would have to do the work to build a Wayland compatibility layer for Unity. So it's going to be a trade-off. We're going to make it easier in some aspects and possibly harder in others.
All right. Where are we on the questions?
I'm on Sorav asking, is it possible in any way to install Ubuntu Mobile OS on my smartphone? It has Android, for that matter, on any smartphone.
So
Daniel, do you want to talk about ports?
Yeah, if you want to go to wiki.ubuntu.com/touch/devices, you get a list of all the ports, as Alan mentioned earlier, of all the ports of Ubuntu Touch. Just have a look there and see if your phone is supported. Next one, Dishama asked, you mentioned that the upcoming summit combines several things. I've watched some UDS hangouts in the past. How will this online summit look different? So you're right. It's in many ways it's going to be like UDS. So we're going to have hangouts with people discussing and making plans for the upcoming release. But we're also going to have demos, how-tos, and sessions by people who just want to show off work they've been doing or explain how to join a team. So you can expect a lot more different forms of content there. UDS Ubuntu.com is the best page, or is it Summit Ubuntu.com?
Summit.ubuntu.com is the schedule.
Cool. So yeah, and it starts next week on Tuesday, so join us there and get involved.
Next question is from Half-Mast. I noticed that the calendar app lost its colored background. Are we moving away from the gradient background in the Suru design? Well, there's two things there. One is the calendar app lost its colored background because we had some feedback from design and they suggested we change the colors. So I changed the colors, and yeah, we've now got a kind of lighter, fresher, as Jono called it, less vomit-inducing color scheme. I think I can say that. The other half of the question was, are we moving away from the gradient background in the Suru design? Yes, I think we are. I think you'll see less of the very simplistic, one color at the top, one color at the bottom, and a gradient between them. I think you'll see less of that.
Yeah, I think we're going for a little bit more subtle color variation than what we saw originally.
Right.
Yeah, Daniel's got the calendar app.
Okay, next question. Will Unity at any point not come with spyware? I think this is a kind of duplicate of the question you asked earlier.
So, yeah, short answer is yes. Unity has always shipped with no spyware and will continue to ship with no spyware.
Okay. Next question. Will Ubuntu ever support RT3290 drivers properly? Oh golly. It requires a couple of tweaks and Bluetooth doesn't work. It's annoying for some users. I don't doubt that.
Right.
I would make sure that there's a bug filed about it, and you can try using Ask Ubuntu to see if anybody else has had the same problems and found a solution for you.
Yeah, I was going to say if there is upstream support in a Linux kernel, in one of the mainstream kernels, you can file a bug and get with our kernel guys, and they're really good about pulling that down, and we can even push that out to the LTS kernel as well. So completely possible, especially if there's upstream support.
Cheeseburg asks. He's just joined, and we may have already answered his question. He's asking about the continuity integration between desktop and phone, and yes, we did talk about that earlier.
go back and rewatch the video from about 10 minutes ago.
Yes.
Cheeseburg is also asking if we can talk more about the Unity 8 flavor. So there was a proposal a little while ago to create a separate desktop image that uses Unity 8 as the default shell. And the idea behind that was there's going to be a lot of integration work that goes into getting Unity 8 ready to be the default. And if we do that integration work now in a separate flavor, we can get a head start on the work without, breaking our current default setup. So I personally think that's a good idea. I hope we do that. It would be a temporary solution, though. Once Unity 8 is ready to take over as the default, then it'll go into the main Ubuntu images, and that flavor will go away.
So if you're adventurous and curious, you can just upgrade or install it in the VM to Utopic 14.10 and install the Unity 8. What's it called? Unity 8-desktop session. Is that correct? I think so. And then
as I say, I think the image is called Ubuntu Desktop Next.
Oh, I was just talking about the package. There's a meter package you install.
Okay.
And then it pulls on everything you need, and then in the greeter you can just pick the session and try it out.
Yeah, it's Unity 8 Desktop Session Mirror.
There you go.
Okay, we got another question from Halfmast who says, should Ubuntu Touch users update their images from to 14.10 or should they stay on 14.04? Yes, you should update to 14.10, which is Utopic. So there's, for those who don't know, on the phone we have a number of channels, and the channel determines what updates you get on the phone in terms of and how frequently you get updates. So, for example, there's a stable channel, and if you use a stable channel, then that I think you'd get 14.04, I think. And if you use the Utopic or Devel channel, then you get 14.10. Whichever is the most recent promoted image, so the one that we've done some testing on before it gets promoted out to users. That's the one that most people tend to use. That's the one that is the most stable, but is moving fast and new stuff arrives every week or so. The final one is Devel Proposed channel, and that one changes at least once a day, if not multiple times a day, but sometimes it's broken. Like, for example, in the last couple of days it's been a bit broken and we've been working on fixing it. So that's really only for the brave. I'm lucky enough to have two phones, so I have one on Proposed and one on Devel, and that allows me to compare between the two and see when regressions occur and so on. But for people who want a phone that works, I would recommend Devel.
All right, so I'll take the next one. The best is asking, the scope on the phone got redesigned a couple of weeks ago. Will this influence the scope on the desktop sooner or later? Yes, it will. So I mean, scopes as the rest of Unity will be convergent at some point. So you'll see the same level of scope redesign on the desktop as well. Probably you won't see this before we get a working Unity session on the desktop, so it will come all together.
Yeah, there's no plan to backport these changes into Unity 7.
Yeah. All right, the next one. Subos Road is asking, are there any plans for redesigning the currently not that much appealing Ubuntu Software Center, or is the concept of a standalone app manager doomed? I think what we're doing for the upcoming Unity 8, which will be the converged system, is going more towards an app store that's available through the Dash. I'm not sure about what will happen with dep packages. So I'm pretty certain that the Ubuntu Software Center will still be there for a while, but probably there won't be any big redesign in it.
And in the LTS release, we're unlikely to make any significant change to the software center in the LTS release, so that will stay stable. But we had the conversation earlier about AppGrid. It's possible, there may be better alternatives that you can add on to your system via a PPA or from some third party that gives you a better experience of using the software store. Where are we?
All right. Peaceburg asks, OS X 10.10 Yosemite has a dash-like search which looks visually appealing. Will the Unity 8 dash results also see a visual design improvement? So they already have. If haven't tried Unity 8 in the past several months, the new dash is in there with a overhaul of the scopes, and there's more visual enhancements that are coming soon to that. So scope authors will be able to define different layouts and preview setups for their scope data. All right, D. Shimmer is asking, what will be the primary advances made in 14.10, or at least what are the goals? Does anyone have a comment on that?
I was hoping someone else to pick it.
So I'll plug the Ubuntu Online Summit again. That's next week, where there will be a lot of talk about work being done towards 14.10.
From the phone point of view, it's at the moment we're doing a lot of work on the core apps, polishing them up. Some of the apps are getting a redesign, a bit of a makeover. So that's what I'm personally working on for the next few months leading up to 14.10. We don't have anyone here from the desktop team, but we could certainly get them along on a later call and get more detail about what's happening on the desktop side in 14.10. Cheeseburg asks, when can we see Go plus Qt for app development? It's already in the SDK, isn't it?
I think so. I think it landed a couple of weeks ago in the Malta sprint. I haven't tested it myself yet.
Documentation for that on to developer.ubuntu.com. So you'll see it soon as we can get the stuff gathered and published.
Cool. Cheeseburg, sorry, I'm going a bit fast because we've got loads of questions queued up here.
Yeah.
Cheeseburg asks, how does the new app lens handle purchases and donations? It doesn't at the moment, but that's landing.
Should be landing soon, from what I've heard. The back-end stuff is all ready to go, and it's just the changes to the app scope that they're waiting on.
Right. Which one's next?
Double D33D, I think.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. So, you ever see Ubuntu unify across all devices so well that each one suffers the same bugs and can receive the same bug fixes from the same code? I think we already see a bit of that to the extent that our core and system applications run on the desktop. Although we'll certainly always have bugs that affect one platform or the other. So I think the answer is yes, we've already seen it, and that doesn't mean that you can't expect bugs to crop up that only affect a specific platform or device.
Now, we've also already seen in the core packages that are shared between phone and desktop, any fixes that come into that will land in both.
Exactly. Yep. Next question is by Dote. He says, will Nexus 4, 7, 10 images be supported following the release of BQ and Meizu handsets?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer.
As far as I know, they will not. I mean, the Nexus devices are open and easy to hack and easy to develop for. So I think we'll continue to target those for our development. We'll, of course, make sure that everything runs well on the BQ and the Meizu, but I think our developer phones will probably continue to target the Nexus devices.
Yeah, I think that's what I've heard as well.
Tal's asks, will users be able to use apt-get to install applications on the phone? That kind of depends. There's multiple answers to that. There's yes, if you're currently using a Nexus 4 and you put the Ubuntu Touch image on a Nexus 4 and make the image writable, you can apt-get install stuff from the repository. Not by default, you have to make the image writable to do that, but that's one command you type and reboot the phone and you're done. In the future, whether you'd be able to on phones that are delivered by our partners like BQ and Meizu and others, I don't really know. I don't know whether how open those companies are to users hacking around on their phones. That's something we're keen on, but that's something for them to decide, really.
And of course, we want to move away from actual apps, not system packages, being deb packages in the archives, and try and get them to use Click more, because that's easier for app developers to provide. It's easier for us as a distro developer to maintain, and it'll just all around make everybody happier the more apps we can get to use Click. All right, is Bram next?
Yeah, that's the one that I had as well.
Is Google Drive going to be more closely integrated? Would be great to have it as a replacement for Ubuntu One's service. So you've got a lot of options for Ubuntu One replacements. I'm trying Google Drive now. There's a client called Grive, Grive, that I'm using. You've also got Dropbox and OwnCloud that have good Ubuntu support. I don't think there's going to be one specifically that gets more tightly integrated than the others.
I've switched to using something called SyncThing, SYNC thing. I'd love to see that available on the phone. There's already a build that works on the phone that allows you to synchronize files between your desktop and your phone. I'd love to see someone create a QML front end to that, or a web-based front end to that. That would be awesome. And that's free software as well. So unlike Dropbox and many of the others, you get to keep your freedom as well.
All right. So next one is H0RCRX asking again, will Ubuntu ever support 33 to 90 drivers properly? I think we've answered that earlier on, and we said basically that none of us has got the knowledge to answer that one, and the best thing is to file it back.
Daniel did post a link to an Ask Ubuntu question about that.
Okay, cool.
Right.
All right. So Josh Strobel is asking, who worked on the dual boot for Android Ubuntu Touch? I was hoping to get in touch to figure out to have Ubuntu Touch as the default OS to boot into rather than Android. I wasn't working on it, but I worked with the guys, with the engineers that implemented Ubuntu dual boot. And I think what I'd recommend is to file a bug. This is rather a feature request than a bug, but it can nevertheless be considered. So my recommendation would be to go to Launchpad and file a bug in there. The place to go is launchpad.net/humpolec, where Humpolec is HUMPOLEC. Yeah, so that's essentially it.
Who's next? Masungugu. Is there any news on the project described at a URL, Ubuntu for Android, an Android application to launch full-screen Ubuntu UI on an attached monitor? I think we discontinued that, or discontinued current development on it at the moment.
Yes, I think so. Mike, I think you're saying something, but you're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, the focus now is on Ubuntu on Ubuntu, so running it as the phone OS and the desktop OS.
Okay, moving on. Cheeseberg asks, how close is the phone to being complete? What vital functions are missing? That really depends on what you consider a vital function, really.
So we have alarms working now, which was the last of the things that I really considered vital. I've been using Ubuntu phone as my daily phone since September of last year, and that was really the last thing that I was missing. Turn-by-turn directions are nice to have too, though.
Yeah, there might be specific applications that you might be missing. Like the one we get told a lot about is WhatsApp and other instant messenger type systems. No doubt they will come later down the line. We're mostly working on the core functionality, making phone calls, sending and receiving text, taking photos, playing music, looking at your calendar, that kind of stuff.
MS Killed My Puppy asks, got quiet about Trojita. Any insider news? So there's nothing secret about Trojita.
In Trojita.
Hey.
All of the development on that is happening out in the open. It's all done by community developers. You can join #Trojita on Freenode IRC. That's where they all congregate and chat, and we have weekly IRC meetings with them every Friday. So there's steady progress being made on that.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll have it in the store soon as we land the ability to send outgoing messages.
Yeah, at the moment it's limited to you can receive your email via IMAP, and you can read your email, which is a crucial thing for an email client to be able to do. But the other big thing you need to be able to do is send mail, and yeah, that's being worked on right now. It's a great community we've got built around that.
All right, we got 10 minutes left, so we should probably get through as many of these quickly as we can.
Blitz mode, go.
Let's see. Bash RC is asking about Software Center merging with the Dash we already talked about. Does Unity 8 work on NVIDIA drivers yet? It'll work on anything that Mir supports, which is open source drivers at the moment. Let's see.
There's another one by Sartak. Has the issue with Intel graphics which caused blank screen on boot been resolved? I haven't got Intel graphics myself. I'm not sure if you guys know.
I never had that problem on mine, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Either.
Sorry, what was the question?
Has the issue with Intel graphics which caused blank screen on boot been resolved?
I haven't seen that either. It would need a bug.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then Cheeseburg asks again, will Ubuntu Touch officially support Nexus 5 anytime soon? You guys correct me if I'm wrong. I think the quick answer on that is no, probably not. I think we have the devices that we want to target for what we're doing at the moment. So.
There is a community port that works quite well, I'm told. I don't have one, but I'm told it works quite well. So that's worth.
Yeah, that's what I've heard also. So if you have a Nexus 5, go find that community port.
Then Double Deed says, if it doesn't already exist, are there plans to have an SDK manager for Ubuntu Touch, such as exists for Android? I think he means maybe to manage the different versions of the SDK to install at different times. And we talked a little bit about this in Malta, so.
We do have something already built into Qt Creator. They're called kits, and you can define different kits for different targeted Ubuntu versions and their SDK.
Okay. Next question is, will video Facebook video chat integration?
I don't think there's anything that we're working on right now for that. Does anyone know differently?
I don't know, to be honest.
Nope.
No.
I don't believe that. Yeah, they ever targeted video with any of the.
So I think we can answer safely that in the near future there's nothing coming up that, or at least that we know.
All right.
Musel asks, what about Adobe Flash Player for Firefox? That's a desktop support style question, and you.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Flash support.
Right.
Yeah, you kind of have to poke Adobe about that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Mauer is asking about the Unity 8 desktop ISO image that we talked about earlier. If you can go back and rewatch that part of the video, we did discuss what the plans are for that and what we know about it.
I'll leave a link. You
It'll
can
be
get
out.
it now.
All right. Ramak asks, when can we see Unity 8 as a desktop replacement in Utopic? I would not expect to have that in Utopic. There will be a Unity 8 session preview that you can try, but it's not going to be ready to replace Unity 7 this release. Cheeseburg's asking about the progress on the email app, and we just talked about that. That's Trojita is the native email app that's being worked on. Almost to the end.
So Sartak is asking, will the file sharing on wired Ethernet LAN be improved? I can get it to work without the LAMP server to upload through PHP. My fault. I think that's another one that we cannot just answer without knowing exactly what the problem is. So for that one, I'd suggest to file a bug as well.
I would say sync thing again, as I do whenever anyone says anything about synchronizing data between two machines. Use sync thing to synchronize your data, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Yes, and SyncThing does peer-to-peer syncing, so it doesn't have to go through a central server. So that should help you out.
And it's written in Go as well.
Whoa, didn't know that. Bobby, I think people are getting very excited about you showing Trojita. Perhaps you can share it again on the screen.
Yeah, I was a bit quick, but yeah, that's I don't know if you can see. That's my email. You're looking at my inbox on my Ubuntu phone, and I can prove it's my Ubuntu phone because it's orange on the back.
There you go.
Nice. All right. So next one. Mark Codebase is asking, could we attach Meizu or BQ smartphone at an external monitor? If not, is it possible to have this feature in the future with a software update? You won't be able to see it yet.
Connected to an external monitor? I don't know. I haven't seen the actual specs of what the phone's going to be capable of doing. But you're not going to get a desktop mode when you do that.
Yeah, so essentially you won't see it in this first release of Ubuntu for Meizu or BQ.
As far as whether or not it'll be made available in a future software update, I don't know. A lot of that's going to depend on the phone hardware itself. The Nexus 4 is great hardware for a phone, but if you tried to use it for desktop work, you would be very disappointed. So I think that's going to be the limiting factor more than the software once it comes along.
Wow, it seems we've gone through all of the questions. I mean, there's one left by Cheeseburg about desktop designs for Unity 8, but I think we've actually answered that. Kind of.
Yeah, a lot of it will be driven by people using Unity 8 on the desktop and filing bugs and finding those issues. So
yeah, I mean, as far as features, we already know kind of what we want because they're all in Unity 7 right now. So things like multiple windows, quick lists on the launcher, that kind of thing.
Oh, there's another one. Nakanut. Question, what do you guys use as an alternative for iTunes on desktop or touch OS? Well, I'm glad you're asking that question. On touch OS, you should be using or on Ubuntu on devices, you should be using the Music app. The desktop, there are multiple alternatives. I personally use Banshee. We've got Rhythmbox as the default music player, and there's lots and lots of other music players for the desktop, which are also equally good.
All right, we're out of questions and out of time. That worked out well.
Yeah, it was really, really good. So thanks everyone for your questions. It's been really fun.
Before we wrap up, let's talk about plans for future Q&A sessions. David, did you want to bring that up?
Yeah, sure. So essentially, what we'll be doing is we'll be obviously keep running these sessions, and the next one will be just as this one. We'll have the whole community team running the session. But in the future, we've talked about changing the format a bit. It will still be Q&A, but we might have like less of us running the sessions, and but in addition, we might have some guests to answer specific parts of, well, to address specific questions, such as some engineering managers or particular developers who are working on a particular feature. The main change for next week, though, is that we're moving this Q&A to be a bit earlier. We're moving it to be 2 hours earlier to be a bit more friendly to us in Europe. So the next one will be same format, but 2 hours earlier, which means 1500 UTC. We'll obviously be announcing this on our blog posts and on our social media, so you'll definitely get a reminder. But yeah, remember, next week, same people, not the same bat hour, but 2 hours earlier. And I think that was it. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to mention before we wrap up?
Just to follow us on Facebook and Google+. We have an Ubuntu page on both of those, and we do announce these Q&As on there before they come up. And also to follow Ubuntu On Air on Twitter and YouTube to get announcements about upcoming videos, because there's a lot more than just these QAs that happen here. Because they'll be happy now I've done that.
Okay. Should we wrap up?
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week.
Next week.
See you next week, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.